If you hear any meowing in the background, it's because we have a stray cat that is not wanting to be a stray anymore, but also she doesn't want to be a house cat, so she can't make up her mind. So she hangs out on the back porch and doesn't want to come in the house.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is my oldest son. His name is David.
Yep.
And he's the one that I've been talking about in my videos when I talked about how he was admitted to a hospital about 3 months ago. Just recently, last week, he was brought home. And I guess I'm going to be honest, he was not discharged by the hospital. I went to the hospital and I picked him up and brought him home. The reason why I brought him home, and it wasn't against medical advice. So before anybody thinks that I just discharged him, brought him home, and he was totally not ready to be home, I didn't. He had been in the hospital for almost 3 months. He was there for conduct disorder, ADHD, ODD, which is oppositional defiant disorder, dysregulatory mood deficit disorder. He was there for autism, and there was one unspecified disorder that they didn't really know. I think it's bipolarism or either that or anxiety. So he was there for all that. He got, technically it was his second time there. He got discharged on October 12th from the hospital, and then he got readmitted on November 15th because he wasn't doing good at school, he wasn't doing good at home, and he just needed more help. And then he was gonna get discharged on, ooh, you need to take those shoes off.
Okay.
Wow, that's a lot of mud. We're in that weird season right now in Michigan where the grass is like still there, but it's winter, so the ground's really wet and it makes mud really, really bad. We've actually had a very, very dry winter. It hasn't snowed at all. It's been really weird. Anyways, so both times he was admitted to the hospital for the same reasons. He wasn't admitted for any other reason. You're gonna have to excuse the way I look today. My 3-year-old woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not my 3-year-old, my 4-year-old woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning last night. I am exhausted. He's been waking up in the middle of the night every single night. He's just, I don't know what his issue is right now. I don't know if he's going through a sleep regression. I don't know. He's just...
Ugh.
Yeah, I know. You're sitting in mud. So anyways, in November, or in December, it was actually December 23rd, or I think it was December 22nd. He was supposed to come home for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding out that the hospital decided that they didn't want him to come home. They said that he wasn't ready to come home because he ended up having an episode. Well, on Christmas Day, I ended up talking to him on Zoom. We ended up having a Zoom call. And David ended up telling me that they were giving him shots. And that they also were giving him a lot of shots. And then they were also putting him in a room. Now, David didn't know what that room was called. He didn't know it was called confinement. And basically, it's just an empty room. You said it didn't have a bed or nothing? There was no blankets or pillows or nothing?
Yeah, there was no blankets and pillows. It was just a bed and a bed holder. There was no sheet either. And it was kind of sad because you couldn't have any toys. You gotta sit there bored.
I didn't like it because he told me on Christmas Day the reason why he got a shot and he got put into confinement was because he couldn't get his syrup open for breakfast. And he said that he got frustrated, and so they gave him a shot of Benadryl. And Benadryl, in case you don't know what it is a sedative. They also use it for allergies and things like that, but this was a different kind of Benadryl. They made him go to sleep and put him in confinement. Now, the thing is, I didn't quite understand why they would do it because he got frustrated. The reason why he was there was because they were supposed to be helping him to learn when he gets upset, how to deal with his emotions and how to ask for help or things like that. Well, they didn't do that. They just made him go to sleep, locked him in a room, and called it a day. I got really irritated with this. I got really upset. 2-3 days after that, I kept getting phone calls from the nurses saying that they kept sedating him. They kept giving him more shots. And I didn't get that either, because on Christmas Day, I called the hospital and I told them, do not give him any more Benadryl shots. I don't prefer that. They continued to keep doing it. They didn't listen to what I was saying. The following week, I was supposed to have a meeting with David. I was supposed to physically see him person to person. And I found out that they were going to change it to a Zoom. They wanted me just to be on the computer and David to be on the computer, and that was it. They told me this at the last minute, and it just started to get too frustrating. I was like, I'm not seeing my son. I don't know when he's going to be discharged. I don't know when he's going to be able to come home. They're giving him shots. They're locking him in rooms. I don't know exactly what's going on. The communication between me and the hospital sucked. They weren't telling me nothing. They would never answer the phone. The nurses wouldn't talk to me. The counselors wouldn't talk to me. Nobody was really telling me anything. The only time they called me is when they gave him a shot. That was the final straw. So on on January, I want to say it was January 3rd or 4th, I drove up to the hospital and I discharged him. I told them I was taking him out of their care and I was taking him home and that it was over. I said there was no more anything. I'm going to have him be treated here at home by our hospitals and our counselors and psychiatrists that are here in the county that we live in. And yeah. So since he's came home, we've had about 2, I wouldn't even say 2. He's only had 1 blow up. He had 1 blow up 2 nights ago. It was really just because he was upset at his little brother. He got mad because his brother was kind of being a jerk. And he was kind of like jealous because his little brother was getting more attention than him from his dad. And it just kind of like turned into a big thing. Once we got to the hospital, David, calmed down and he started to realize what happened, and he knew what he had done wrong. He knew that he shouldn't have blew up like he did and that he shouldn't have punched his brother. And so they were going to find placement for him. They were going to put him back in Harbor Oaks, the hospital that he was at. And I told them, no, I'm going to take him back home. So I'm not going to sit here and tell everybody that psychiatric hospitals are bad. I'm not going to say that getting help once in a while is a bad thing, because it's not. Sometimes you actually need that extra help in order to help your brain. And you need that for your own self, because sometimes you just can't deal with a lot of the problems that you have with just seeing a regular doctor. Sometimes you have to go to a hospital. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is he's only 6.5 years old, and no child deserves to be full of sleep medication. They don't need to be constantly put to sleep during the day. He didn't need to be getting a shot of Benadryl at this time, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and sleeping until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. When he came home the very first day, he was completely exhausted. He was very fatigued. He was really out of it, and he ended up falling asleep around 5:30 in the afternoon in my truck. And then the next day, he kind of was just really... He hasn't really gotten back on a normal routine. He's been kind of struggling with getting on routine. But he's trying. He's trying really hard, and he's been doing the best that he can. Today, he went to Walmart, and he found a $10 bill.
Yep.
I was jealous. I was pretty jealous. I wish I had found $10. And he bought himself a toy. You want to show him?
Yes. While we get the other stuff.
I never find money like that. He literally was looking for a pair of shoes, and he looked underneath the shelf, and he was like, oh, $1 bill. And I looked closely, and I'm like, that's not $1, that's $10. So he got a Minecraft set.
Here's the other wing.
Uh-oh. All right, guys, we got to go. We're getting a phone call, so we will talk later. Peace out.